Hi everyone, my name is Paulina and you are watching Bites of Books. So today I am coming to you with a discussion video of two books that I read this past month and that really struck me as important, and these are by no means representative of the culture or the issues that I'm going to talk about. But I do believe that they are a very good starting point for um, a lot of issues um, that are very relevant today and have been relevant for a very long time. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Locust and the Bird, and the second one is Girls of Riyadh. And both of these books take place in the Middle East. The Locust and the Bird takes place in Lebanon before, during, and after the Lebanese Civil War, and then Girls of Riyadh takes place in Saudi Arabia, as well as in the United States, and Abu Dhabi, and other places in Europe. Both of these books are very important because they both talk about literacy in many ways, not just literacy in reading and writing, but also literacy of technology. So, for example, in Girls of Riyadh, we have what are basically a series of emails sent by someone who talks about her friends' stories. She doesn't talk about her own story, but she talks about her friends' stories in these mass emails, which the community she lives in and the whole society and her country becomes obsessed with. They even show them in the news, they show them in newspapers, they talk about them during dinner, and every Friday when she sends these emails, everyone becomes really obsessed with the stories of these women that she's talking about. But it isn't just the becoming obsessed with the woman, it's becoming obsessed with the decisions and judging them because they decided to, because of the decisions that they make. Because these are women who might be getting married or might have an affair that a lot of society doesn't agree with, or women who don't speak as they should, women who speak when they shouldn't, women who wear what they should not wear in places where they shouldn't be at in the first place. So there are a lot of cultural and religious rules that are have to be followed in this society. And the part about literacy comes when the narrator, the person who is sending these emails, starts talking about how everyone is judging her because she is, you know, putting these issues to light with her power to send these emails. Number one, she can write, she can read, she can compose a story and send it to everyone. That is the first layer of that. And then the second one is that she has this power of literacy in technology. She's able to understand how the internet works, how the computer works, how everything that might be male dominated in her country is, now at her beckon, and she can do whatever she wants to do with that power. And in this case, she chooses to tell the stories of girls in Riyadh whose stories, might not be told. Like, everybody knows the stories, but nobody chooses to talk about them. And that is a very powerful thing, especially for people who are not familiar with such culture. And that is probably one of the main reasons why I love the stories, because although a lot of the stories put these women to shame, and I put that in air quotes because these women live their lives. Like, they don't have a choice in how they turned out. In a lot of cases, they are forced to marry the people that they have been married to, or they were born in the family that they were born in, and they have to follow those rules if they want to keep their families happy. And so these stories are very important so that other people may know what it is like to be in their shoes and what it is like to follow their lives. And then the other story, which is probably my favorite, is this story of the locust and the bird, because it is a story that follows the author's mother and how she grew up in poverty, how she grew up in a place where she actually did not have any choice on what happened to her, unless she ran away or unless she broke a lot of rules and was in danger of being not just shamed but also cast away and completely, basically, with absolutely no status in the society. And I love this story because it really shows you the power of what it means to tell your own story. So the so Hanan Al-Shaykh, she writes her mother's story as her mother. She does not tell the story as my mother did this or my mother did that. She gives her mother the words and she lets her tell the story. And so the mother is the narrator. And I believe that's really powerful because a lot of times we tell our family stories or we read stories that were written in that sense of my mother did this or my father did that and then my grandfather did this. And it isn't as powerful as hearing it from themselves. And right at the beginning of this book, we hear her words where she says, let me tell you what it feels like to be defeated by a piece of lead and a piece of wood, something in that sense. And it's just so powerful because she tells you, like, I can't read, I can't write, I cannot write my story, but I can tell it. And since you, my daughter, has that power, you can tell my story. And so this also got me thinking a lot about relationships between parents and daughters, or mothers and daughters, because a lot of times we don't know our parents' stories. Like, how did they become who they are, and do they how did they get to the place where they are now? We know their story from when perhaps we were 5 or 6 and then until now, but very, unless they tell us what happens before, we don't know what happened. And this is a really powerful one because so many things happened to Hanan's mother that it is amazing how much she lived and how much she suffered, and that she finally has this book to tell that story is just really, really powerful. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed about this book is that Hanan's mother, Camila, she gains insight or some kind of window out to the world around her through movies. She is obsessed with movies and watching how lovers can survive their stories, survive their parents not wanting them to marry. And she loves these stories because she feels like there is hope behind that, and that way she can hopefully one day marry or at least be with the man that she truly loves instead of the man that she has been assigned to marry. And it's just a multi-layered book where it's not just reading and writing, but also being able to look outside of the world where you are, being able to travel or being able to be in places where you can hear stories from other places. Not just read books, but also watch television or watch movies or listen to the radio. And all of those things are many privileges that we have nowadays and that we might take for granted, but that they are very well portrayed in both of these books. Since both email and letters and basic communication that we have nowadays are actually quite precious in these stories that I'm talking about. So basically, both of these books are very highly recommended if you want to gain insight into another culture and also to kind of get more insight also of how it is to live in a place where so many rules, both cultural and religious, can strap you down. And it's even more interesting how they live in within those boundaries and how they search for their own freedoms within those boundaries, which they might embrace or which they might fight against. So yeah, that was my discussion, a little bit of what these two books meant to me and what I really liked about them. I will probably do something like this every month for the books that I really enjoyed the previous month, or some kind of discussion about them. I also have a lot of other discussions that I have planned for the future. So, yeah, I hope you like this, and I will be talking to you soon. Bye.